Good evening. Welcome to the Willmar City Council meeting for Monday, September 17th, 2007. Roll call.
Mayor Heidke.
Here.
Councilmember Reese. Christensen.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Swenson.
Here.
Gardner. Dakin.
Here.
Fagerly.
Here.
DeBleek.
Here.
Present 7, 2 absent.
Thank you, Audrey. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening and welcome to this City Council meeting. Tonight we have an address from the Candioi County Tobacco Coalition. Ms. Sandra Schlegel will be presenting in a few minutes, and then we have our usual committee reports from Finance, Labor, Community Development, and a few other items of business. To begin with, I would like the council members to look at the consent agenda, and what should we do with that?
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion, and it's been seconded, to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion or questions about that? I would like to point out that the consent agenda includes a variety of minutes of different committees, including first of all, the City Council minutes of September 4th, the Planning Commission minutes of September 12th, the Building Inspection Report for the month of August 2007, the Library Board minutes of June 21st, Housing and Redevelopment Authority minutes of August 14th, the Zoning Appeals Board minutes of September 10th, the Mayor's Housing Task Force minutes of September 10th, and then there's an out-of-state travel request by myself. And I would like to just take a moment and comment on that. Back in July, I think it was mid-July or somewhere in that time, I was notified that I had been invited to join a delegation of citizens and a few elected officials from 4 different states to go to Mexico for a one-week trip sponsored by the Northwest Foundation. This was not anything that we had solicited or applied for or asked for. It was simply an invitation that came from the Northwest Foundation. The people who are going are from 4 different states, from Iowa, Minnesota, Idaho, and Oregon. And it's a variety of people. There are a couple of elected officials. There are people from the school systems. There's a police officer. There are some business people. And it's a variety of individuals from these 4 states who have different services and programs operating in specific cities, like Willmar does, for helping to build inclusive communities and to build or to address the issues and problems of integration. This trip leaves on October 5th and returns October 12th. I'm certainly looking forward to it and hope to bring back some ideas that may be useful in our community. The other people from Willmar that are going are Mr. Rob Anderson, who is the principal of Willmar Senior High School, and Ms. Kathy Schwantes, who is the Associate Director for Economic Development at the Economic Development Center here in the city of Willmar. If there's no discussion about any of this, those in favor of approving the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we will have our address from Sandy Schlegel. Sandra, please come up to the microphone here. And first of all, welcome to the City Council meeting. And I understand that you are the Program Director for the Candioi County Tobacco Coalition. Thank you for joining us, and tell us what's on your mind.
That's great. Thank you very much for putting me on the agenda today. The Candido County Tobacco Coalition has been asked by our local public health agency to start spreading the word about a change in the law that's taking effect on October 1st of this year. The Minnesota Department of Health has been in charge of implementing the changes to the Minnesota Clean Indoor Air Act that are going to take place on October 1st, and they've asked us to assist them in that so that we have a successful implementation in Candido County. So what we've been doing is going around to the city councils. We've been holding forums. We had a business forum last week and invited all businesses and business managers to come and hear about the changes and how they affect them. We've put together business kits that people can call our office and get more information about the impact in the changes of the Minnesota Clean Indoor Air Act. The popular name for it is the Freedom to Breathe Act, and it was passed by a clear majority in our House Senate and House of Representatives just this past May. So beginning October 1st, virtually all indoor workplaces and public meeting places become smoke-free. In summary, and I did present everybody with a short summary of the law, there are more fact sheets that are available on some of the expanded areas, some of especially things that have changed in the law and in the exemptions. So the Minnesota Department of Health website has a lot of that information, or somebody could call our office, as well as Chris Wenish at the Public Health Department. But basically, bars, restaurants, private clubs, employee break rooms, those will all come under effect in this law on October 1st, as well as things that we're used to, like retail spaces, offices, industrial workplaces. They've also added the common areas of rental apartment buildings, hotels and motels, lobby areas, as well as public transportation, including taxis. Work vehicles, if more than one person is present. They've included home offices in this law if there are one or more on-site employees, or if it's used as a place to meet customers, clients, patients. Public and private educational facilities, as well as auditoriums, arenas, and meeting rooms. They've also included daycare premises, including in-home daycare and healthcare facilities and clinics. Now, they have exempted all outdoor spaces, regardless of how close the person who is smoking is to doors and windows. Those areas can be regulated by local governments and private businesses. So they can make it stronger, but the state does not regulate outdoor spaces under this law. They also do not regulate private spaces, such as homes and cars that are not used as workplaces. I want to say something about private homes, too. When the home or the car is not being used to meet clients or patients, then it reverts to a private residence. So during non-business hours, then it reverts to a private area, and homeowners and their guests are then, smoking is permitted. Also, hotel and motel sleeping rooms are exempt if the hotel or motel chooses to have smoking sleeping rooms. Family farm buildings under certain conditions and farm trucks are exempt from this law, as are cabs of commercial motor vehicles that weigh over 26,000 pounds. There are also approved scientific studies, traditional Native American ceremonies, a disabled veterans rest camp in Washington County, and theatrical productions for the actors or the actresses when it's part of the performance and people have advance notice. Those are exempt, as well as tobacco product shops for sampling products. One thing that our coalition is really trying to do is get the word out, and we're sponsoring several events for that first week of October. We want everybody to know that the local business owners did not pass this law, but they're going to uphold the law. We've talked to, most of them, and we want their customers to keep coming. They want their customers to not protest in any way. So we've put together coupon books that we'll be distributing that last week of September. We're holding an event giving away free pizza for Monday Night Football at the Green Mill, and We have an event on Melvin's on Friday, October 5th. So we really want the community to come out in support of local business, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take them, or you can give me a call in the office, and I can give you more information about that.
Sandy, what were those two public events?
October 1st, Monday Night Football at Green Mill. We're giving away free pizza from 6 to 8. And then October 5th, we are doing free hors d'oeuvres at 8 o'clock and free cover charge for Keystone, which is a great band, on Friday night. So
At Melvin's on the Lake?
at Melvin's on the Lake. Yep.
And what is the time for that?
That starts at 8 o'clock. The band starts at 9.
So, okay.
So we just want people to, keep coming out in support of your businesses, regardless of your opinion of the law. The business owners need the support of the community.
Okay, just hold.
Yep.
Any council members want to ask questions or comments? Councilmember Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Sandy, for your report. Is there any way that service clubs, Legion, VF, Eagles, Elks, can they pull a trailer in their parking lot and have a smoking room in there, or is there anything for them? Can they put an awning out front? I understand that it takes effect the minute you enter the door, but directly outside the door, right next to the handle, you can smoke.
Yep, that's true. There's no regulation of the outdoor space. So,
Can they have an awning or something out the front door or the back or somewhere?
yeah, there's something called an indoor area definition that our legislators put into the law, and if a place qualifies as 50% or more of enclosed space, it becomes an indoor area, and if it's less than 50%, it's considered outdoor. So, for example, the Green Mill, it's enclosed on 3 sides, but there's no ceiling, so that Chris has ruled that as an outdoor area, so people would be able to go outside there and smoke. There's, are you familiar with that gazebo that's across from Rice Memorial Hospital? There's a roof, so it's covered, and then, but the sides are open. That's an outdoor area, so something like that would qualify as a place that has some protection. So it's really the measurement between the ceiling and the floor. If 50% of the wall space or more is covered, then it's an indoor area. If it's less than 50% of the wall space is enclosed, then it's an outdoor area.
So if there's one wall and an awning and screens around it, that's outdoor?
It's an outdoor area. Yep.
Because I've had some calls concerning, and I said, well, I'll ask. But,
Yeah, certainly. And then you can always, now that you have our information, you can always direct them to our office or to Chris Wenish at the Public Health.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other comments? Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the report, Sandy.
Sure.
I'm curious, what have you been telling the business owners to do in terms of enforcement?
For enforcement, it is a complaint-based enforcement. So that means somebody needs to complain in order for any steps to be taken, except for food and beverage, because they fall under the licensing requirements for public health. So Chris may be out inspecting, anyway for certain things, but generally this law will be enforced if somebody complains about it. And they would receive a letter that says, hey, did you know that October 1st all indoor places became smoke-free? And the general public can actually send an anonymous letter from the Department of Health website, or they can call us or Chris at Public Health and ask them to send one that just says, we know someone noticed smoking at your establishment, and under this new law, it's not allowed. So that would be the first step, would be education. And then the second step may be a visit from Public Health, the Department of Health. And then it can get into fines after that. But the business owners, we've been saying, do what you normally would do when somebody's doing something in your business that you don't like, to ask them to stop. Please don't smoke in here. And not serve them. And if they continue to smoke, to ask them to leave. So most business owners that we've been talking to, they're used to having to deal with the public that's acting in a way that they don't want them to in their business, especially bars. when people have been drinking. They know best how to deal with customers that aren't following the rules. And what they just wanted to know is what's their responsibility, and their responsibility is to ask the person to please don't smoke. So a lot of businesses actually are, they're going to direct the smokers to an area outside where they really want them to smoke, and a lot of them might put up a heater or an awning or, a wall against the strongest wind or a patio or benches or certain things. So they're already thinking about it. How can we accommodate people? And I think there's going to be a transition period. I mean, everybody expects there to be one. Think about when you can no longer smoke in office buildings or on airplanes or, there's a transition period that just takes for it to be turned over.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anyone else? One more comment. Go ahead, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Sandy, maybe you could give the phone number or where you can be reached, as there may be some service club members watching.
Sure. You bet. My phone number it's a Willmar phone number, 235-8926, and either myself or my program assistant can help them out. And if it's a question specifically to what qualifies as an indoor area or an outdoor area, we can also direct them to Chris Wenish.
Thank you.
Well. Yep.
Sandy, thanks on
You're
behalf of the City Council for your report and to explain the new law. I'm sure you are busy
We are.
educating people and answering lots of questions. So thank you for helping our community in this manner.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Next on the agenda is a Willmar City Council open forum. Does anyone wish to address the City Council tonight? Warren, come on up, please. No, that's fine.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I guess I'm here just to ask a couple of questions tonight. What the status is on our dilemma over in our neck of the woods. I understand the Public Works Committee was canceled last week, or the week before, whenever their last meeting, so I was just kind of curious if there's been any progress or what's happening, so I guess those are my only two questions at this time.
Okay. I know, Mick, you've had some conversations with school board people.
Well, I have, Mr. Mayor. I think the key here, though, is in the development of any plan that the engineering department is working on, and I didn't expect it to be completed by this date or by the last Public Works meeting. I think it'll take a little bit of time to put together some of the options and alternatives. On the other hand, I did meet with the school superintendent, not any of the school board members. The superintendent received a presentation from Mel and I regarding some of the issues we have, including 10th Street and Canyon. We spent about an hour with her reviewing some ideas and revisiting the prospect of stormwater detention areas in that neighborhood, specifically behind Kennedy School. And we pointed out some other possibilities as well, and then we went out and looked at some different sites where I think Mel is considering some retention improvements. When exactly his report to the council will be ready to go, I mean, I can't put a specific date on it, but we are working on it.
All right. That's what we have so far.
Okay. I'll probably attend the next Public Works Committee, and we can discuss it further there, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council tonight? All right, we will move on in the agenda then. We're on number 9, which is the Finance Committee report for September 10th. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on our agenda was the Rice Memorial Hospital Intergovernmental Transfer Agreement. Finance Director Okins presented the proposed Memorandum of Understanding of intergovernmental transfer payment between Rice Hospital and the City of Willmar. It was established at an annual payment calculated at 0.4% of the prior year net assets, with never to be less than $200,000 in any one year. This agreement would become effective January 1, 2008, and would provide for quarterly installments on those payments. Under the existing agreement, which expires the end of this year, December 31st, the final annual payment is $200,000. Rice has requested deferring payment of the quarterly installments for 2007 until the end of this year. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I would introduce a resolution to authorize the city administrator to execute the memorandum of understanding of intergovernmental transfer payment between Rice Memorial Hospital and the city of Willmar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to introduce a resolution authorizing our city administrator to execute a memorandum of understanding of intergovernmental transfer payment between Rice Hospital and the city of Willmar. Comment. I have a question. Mick, overall, does this stay relatively the same, or is this some reduction in the payment from the hospital to the city?
Well, generally speaking, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the agreement, at least initially, kind of maintains the current level of funding. And everybody is very hopeful that the financial situation at the hospital will eventually turn around and take a more positive trend, move in that direction, in which case then these payments would increase proportionally. But I think it's it's a long-term program. We don't expect any immediate results in the way of large increases in the intergovernmental transfer. But on the other hand, I think that the agreement keeps us from moving backwards just the same.
Is this memorandum time limited, or is it open?
I think it's open and to be reviewed from time to time.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from council members? Councilmember Dockin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to ask the same question. Is this, there is no time limit on this, so what spells out when when the hospital decides that they want to revisit this?
Well, I'm thinking that the initiative to revisit is likely to come from the city at some point in the future, but the last statement in the memorandum of understanding calls for the agreement to be in effect unless it's amended by the mutual consent of both parties.
Okay.
I think that, at least in my conversations with Mr. Massa, we were of the belief that we were talking years here before anything new might happen to change the formula. I think it's going to take some time for the hospital to change its financial situation and begin to show the kind of numbers that would make it worth our while to go back and renegotiate the agreement. And at the same time, we all know that, they have other things going on at the hospital. They're talking about the Rice Care Center, and so all of these things will factor into the general financial strength of the hospital in the future. And I think it's just a year at a time for us when we talk about this agreement.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, this is a resolution. Everybody understand it? Roll call.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Swenson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Bagerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 no.
The resolution passes.
The next item was the mayor's presentation of his 2008 budget. The mayor presented his proposed budget for the city totaling $22,618,439. Of that amount, $11,424,481 is for general operating, $934,212 is for capital improvements, and $10,259,746 is for other operating and debt service. The 2008 revenues include a property tax levy of $3,133,646 as compared to the 2000 levy of $2,806,995. Primary reason for the increase is due to the reduction of the state of Minnesota's 2008 local government aid. The mayor is also proposing establishing a natural gas franchise fee. The mayor stated that there are still 3 issues that need to be addressed that were not included in his 2008 budget. And those items are, number 1, entrances to downtown on the east and west side need to be open for through traffic. Quiet zones need some attention at the railroad crossings, and flood control needs to be pursued for various parts of the city. The mayor concluded his presentation by thanking staff for their assistance in formulating the budget and invited the council members to meet regularly between now and early December with staff and with him to review and or revise proposed revenues and expenditures. That, madam, that was for information only, and I would add that the Finance Committee will be dealing with that. That will be an agenda item on every one of our Finance Committee meetings until the budget is passed in December. Third item is to do with the EDC budget revision. The EDC has taken the Operations Board has taken some action at their last meeting and have revised their budget. They did not ask for any additional levy, so I'm not sure that they'll be coming to our committee to discuss that. That's more an internal thing. But the Rehnquist will be there to explain some of the findings of the 2006 audit. So that was for information only. The final item, we received some reports. The reports were lawful gambling. The August CVB, August RAC 8, August EDC, August local option sales tax, and the F-14 project. That was for information only. Unless there's some questions, I'd move to file the minutes.
Second. We have a motion and a second to file these minutes. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Labor Relations Committee report for September 12th. And I understand Councilmember Anderson is also going to handle this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item on our agenda, Chair Gardner introduced a discussion regarding the role of the Police Civil Service Commission. Administrator Schmidt reviewed the history of the commission and presented what was identified as some administrative conflicts between the city's organizational structure and the police commission rules and regulations. Some of those were relating to responsibilities regarding hiring and disciplinary practices that are detailed in our ordinances, some personnel policy matters, labor contracts of the city, and Minnesota statutes governing police civil service commissions. At a previous request of the committee, staff provided some additional research on police civil service commissions throughout the state and recommended discontinuing the commission in favor of a public safety advisory board. In the opinion of staff, this would bring the hiring practices and the general supervision of the police department in line with other city departments. It was noted that LELS had indicated its support for the proposed changes. Then the committee heard from representatives from the Police Civil Service Commission, and they generally spoke in opposition to the proposed changes. Following a lengthy discussion, it was a consensus of the committee to take this for information. We'll do some additional research and look for opinions from the city attorney, and we'll bring this back to the Labor Committee at a later date. So that was for information. The second item, Chair Gardner presented the committee information regarding the conduct of public meetings, including information on Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, information from the League of Cities, and examples of resolutions and rules of councils that have been adopted by some other communities in the state. Following discussion, there was a motion made, seconded, and passed, and I'll introduce the motion to have the council adopt a timetable and strategies to provide copies of Robert's Rules and Order newly revised as an introduction to the subject, and that the Labor Relations Committee would hold further discussions regarding this subject and how it might apply to the City Council. That was a motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a motion, and it's been seconded, that the council adopt a timetable and strategies to provide copies of Robert's Rules of Order as an introduction to the subject, and that the Labor Relations Committee hold further discussions regarding this subject and how it applies to the City Council. Comment and discussion. Councilmember Anderson?
I was just going to clarify maybe just a little bit. This was a result of a discussion that was held at a council meeting a while back, and this matter was referred to the Labor Relations Committee. And I don't believe that it was necessarily the intent of this motion to come up with sweeping changes. The intent was more to, let's look at it, let's see if there are some things that we might need to do to make our council run better and have some adopted rules. So no strong recommendation one way or the other. It's just an ongoing discussion that will be held at the Labor Committee.
All right. Councilmember Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, my opinion is if it's not broke, don't fix it. And as I suggested at the last meeting, council meeting, I think this is better discussed at one of our retreats than to do this timetable that he's laid out here. I speak against the motion.
Councilmember Dockin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilmember Christensen. I mean, we have our city attorney here, and I would assume that he is, in fact, Mr. Robert's Rules of Order. And if we are getting out of line or getting out of hands, I'm sure he would say something to us that we aren't operating, generally speaking, within Robert's Rules of Order. So, I mean, I'd ask the city attorney if he, I understand he's going to come back with some recommendation, but I guess I'd ask him. Have you noticed over the years that we have tended to get out of order?
Very seldom.
Very seldom. Thank you.
Other comments, sir? Councilmember Anderson?
If I remember correctly, and it seems to me that we never did adopt any rules of order for our business. I think we all assumed and have always operated as if we were under Roberts, but I don't know if there's ever been a formal action.
I would ask either our city administrator or our city attorney for clarification on what the city charter tells us to do here. Rich, have you had a chance to review that at all, what the language in the charter is telling the council, and are we remiss in not doing something?
I've read it, but it's a general statement that there should be rules of operation. I don't think it specifically says Robert's Rules of Order, but and I think that's a subject to interpretation, what that really does mean.
Okay, my follow-up question then, Rich, is somebody made the comment, I think Mick made the comment at an earlier meeting that for many years, up maybe 20, 30 years, we've never adopted anything formally, but yet we have the practice of functioning under the Robert's Rules of Order. So by history and by practice, are we operating under Robert's Rules of Order, and do we need to formally adopt anything?
I guess I reserve my opinion on whether you actually need to adopt it until I do a little further research on it. I would agree that you have operated under Robert's Rules of Order, but whether or not you actually need to make a formal adoption of it, I'll look into that a little more and give you my opinion later.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments from council members? All right. The motion, and it's been seconded, is to adopt a timetable and strategies as an introduction to the subject and continue the discussions within the Labor Relations Committee. All right, you ready to vote on that? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
I believe that the noes prevail. That motion is defeated. I guess at this point, then, I would say we'll wait for Rich to give us an opinion. Is that a fair way to proceed here?
Yep.
Rich, if you and Mick can discuss that and give us your own opinion about this. Thank you. Let's go back to Dennis then.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item, staff advised us that the League of Minnesota Cities and the offices of the State Auditor and Attorney General were not able to provide reasonable options or alternatives to existing laws and options regarding car allowances and mileage reimbursements. We briefly discussed the idea of car allowance increases to compensate for the use of private vehicles, and we did ask staff to do some further research on projected costs for consideration at a later date. So that was for information only. Our final item, we reviewed a proposal for the establishment of a health care savings account as an option to the existing health care plans for city employees. The intent of the health care savings account, which was negotiated into all new employment agreements, is to reduce premium costs for both the employer and the employee. The new plan will be presented to employees over the next several months with a projected January 1st, 2008 implementation date. That was for information only. Unless there's questions, I'd move to file these minutes.
Second. We have a motion and a second to file the minutes. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next are the Community Development Report or Committee minutes for September 13th. Councilmember DeBleek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item on the agenda, we discussed zoning procedures. Staff had distributed a procedural flow chart for conditional use permits, abatements, rezoning and appeals, variances, which is attachments A, B, and C to these minutes. The committee discussed the statutory requirements for procedures as they relate to the policies and procedures used by the city. And staff explained that the statute allowed for different ways for dealing with conditional use permits but that zoning and variances or appeals were very narrowly defined by the discretion-making standpoint, and accountability for decision-making was discussed at length, and it was the consensus of the committee that land use review procedures be a topic for discussion at the next City Council retreat. Second item on the agenda was the deed grant. Staff informed the committee that the $700,000 grant reimbursement for airport land acquisition had been filed with deed, and the balance of the $1 million grant will be used for T-hangar construction. And it was noted that the grant had been awarded to the city as part of the 2005 bonding bill. Item number 3 is project updates. Staff provided updates on a number of projects. The projects included Waterview Business Park, Walmart senior housing projects, the pellet plant, 16-bed mental health hospital, and the industrial park. That concludes the meeting, Mr. Mayor. If there are no questions, the motion to file the minutes.
Second. We have a motion and a second to file the minutes of the Community Development Committee for September 13th. Any comments? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next is the consideration of a resolution determining just compensation. This relates to the new wastewater treatment plant line. Mick, would you explain this?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we've prepared for you a resolution determining just compensation for acquisition of the corridor route for the interceptor line. These are extra copies. Just pass some of these down there. Is there enough there? Here. Resolution, Mr. Mayor, was prepared by Kennedy and Graven, and we're talking about those parcels of land between 30th Street Southwest and County Road 116. There are still a couple properties remaining where we are awaiting the appraised values, and we'll have to deal with those at a later date. This resolution states that the City Council finds that the amounts which are described in Exhibit B, and they're attached to the resolution, are just and reasonable compensation for the taking by the city of these various real property interests, and directs the city administrator and the city's project manager to offer these amounts of compensation to the respective property owners along the route and in the corridor. The resolution goes on to further state that the City Council hereby finds the amounts described in Exhibit B to be the city's approved appraisal amounts for the real property interests, and you'll see a breakdown of what I'm talking about there attached as Exhibit A, and then the amounts of just compensation on the very last page of your document for the parcels that we would propose to make our initial offers for. The appraisals were done by
Rowland Commercial Consultants.
Rowland Commercial Consultants under the direction of Kennedy and Graven in our offices. We're recommending the council adopt the resolution allowing us to proceed with making our offers to these property owners.
Thank you, Mick. Council members, any questions or comments about this? Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How wide of a strip are we actually trying to purchase? What does it include?
I can answer that. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the width of that strip of property varies. It's wider on the west end because on the west end there are 3 pipelines. As you might recall, there's an interceptor sewer, there's our outfall sewer, and then there's a force main or a pressure pipe from Jenny O Turkey Store. As we move further east, that corridor narrows. I believe at the west end it's 200 feet, and then as we go east of the outfall, it narrows to, I believe, 185 or 180 feet. Then as we go west and carry just the interceptor sewer, it becomes narrower yet again, down to about 170 feet at its narrowest.
And will we be doing all of our work within that area, or will we be spilling over and outside of that? Will we be completely within that area?
Our work will be entirely within that corridor. That allows us the room to properly stockpile topsoil and the spoils from the excavation, so that when we put things back together, we can restore that land to productive agricultural use.
Good. One other question. The appraisals that were done in this for market value, how recent are they?
I received them on September 12th.
Okay, so pretty recent.
Oh, yes, very recent.
Thank you, Craig.
Any other comments or questions from council members? Mick, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about here and recommending to the council is that these offers are for the purchase of these lands in fee title, not as a permanent easement.
Okay, I have a question then, Mick. This is a fee title.
We would own the land as opposed to purchasing an easement.
Okay, and then after the work is done and the field is restored, do the property owners have access to lease that land back to use it for their own agricultural purpose?
We would provide easements to the landowners in order to cross the corridors and lease them if practical for ag purposes. There are a couple locations where the corridor, generally it follows the ditch, but the ditch has natural curves to it, and in some cases the corridor will slice through and leave a remnant parcel. So we need to make sure that If that isn't purchased, that the farmers have access to it. So it would be our intent to allow them to use that property as long as everything works out. When I say that property, I'm referring to what's purchased as fee title.
Are we intending to purchase some of the ditch property then?
No.
It's land adjoining the ditch or near the ditch, but the ditch is under the ownership of the county, isn't
It's
it?
a county ditch.
County ditch? And they will continue to own that.
Yeah. This project has nothing to do with the ditch whatsoever.
All right. Other questions from council members? Councilmember DeBleek?
Just further clarification, Mick, these are offers only?
These
They
are
haven't-
offers.
None of them have been accepted by any of these property owners as of yet?
Pardon me?
None of them have been accepted by...
We have not made the offers yet.
Okay.
If the council adopts this resolution tonight, setting the fair market value based on the appraisal work that's been completed, that resolution then authorizes us to go ahead and make the offers. We would hope to spend the next 30 days or so sitting down with the property owners and hopefully negotiating some sort of a settlement. If not, then we will have to move on to the next step. And we wouldn't expect to do that or ask the council to do that until probably mid-October.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Dockin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that strip between 30th Street Southwest and County Road 116, how many field drain tile crossings are there about? And we are responsible for those then if something occurs on the property that we are purchasing?
When we're going to be cutting this trench, a very deep trench, and in the process, a number of tiles, I don't know how many, but there are many, that will cross this corridor that we're carving through as we move west. And we will replace all of those when we do the project.
Yeah, I know I had spoken with Mr. Holmes once, and he indicated that they were going to film it before we start and film it after the completion, and we're going to give those to the individual landowners, which I think is a tremendous opportunity for them.
I think all of us understand that the field tiles have been a major concern of the property owners, and so we're making every attempt to deal with it as best we can.
I think it's handled very well.
Anyone else? Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you. A question on the parcel numbers and the amount of just compensation, where we say, for instance, 4, 5, and 6, with the amount of compensation, $45,000. Is that the total for all those acres, or is each parcel?
No.
That's the total for 4, 5, and 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
4, 5, and 6 for this purpose is a parcel.
That's a parcel. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, council, we need a motion if you want to go ahead with this.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this, is this a resolution?
Yes, sir.
A resolution determining just compensation. Any other comments? Councilmember Fagerly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the drain tile, that'll become, part of it will be on the city property then. Do we give easements to the farmers?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you ready to vote then? Roll call?
Councilmember Anderson?
Aye.
Swenson?
Aye.
Dockin?
Aye.
Fagerly?
Aye.
DeBleek?
Aye.
Christensen?
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 no.
That resolution passes. Next on the agenda is the consideration of bids, Phase 2 Southern Interceptor, project number 0715. Mick, are you going to handle that?
I'll defer on this one, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Craig, welcome, and explain
Mr.
this for us.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this afternoon, we opened bids for the second phase of our interceptor sewer to carry wastewater from our existing wastewater plant to our new plant. This is the stretch of interceptor sewer between 19th Avenue Southeast and the wastewater treatment plant running up behind the Candy Mall. We received 9 bids for that project. The low bid was submitted by Keekley Underground of Kimball, Minnesota. The second low bid was submitted by Chad Munson Excavating of Willmar. The low bid was at $335,475. The high bid was from Randy Kramer of Watkins, Minnesota for $1.3 million. So there was quite a spread on the bids once again. Our estimated construction cost was just under $1 million at $954,000. Shortly after we took the bids, we got a telephone call from our low bidder who indicated that a mistake had been made in the preparation of his bid and asked us if we would consider allowing him to withdraw his bid. The contract documents allow for that provision, and after consideration of the information that Mr. Keekley sent us, we recommend that his firm be allowed to withdraw their bid, and we then consider award to the second low. We then contacted the second low bidder to make sure that that same mistake had not been made by the second low bidder, and Mr. Chad Monson assured us that his firm had included what the low bidder had omitted. So on that basis, we recommend that the contract be awarded to Chad Monson, or Monson Excavating, in the amount of $415,825. Now, the last sentence of my second to the last paragraph on page 2 should be worded such that the contract be conditionally awarded to Monson Excavating. It's a conditional award because there's some MBE, WBE compliance issues that need to be addressed, so it's an award conditioned on that being satisfactory.
Thank you, Craig. Council members. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you explain that second to the last paragraph on the second page again? You said it's conditional to Quorum, but through Munson?
No, it is awarded to Munson. There is no award intended to Quam.
So that's a typo?
That's a typo.
Okay, that's
yes,
you stated.
It's conditional on the basis of satisfactory submittal of solicitation of minority and women business enterprise participation. That is a prerequisite of some of our funding sources.
The difference between our estimate and the one we're awarding is considerable. I mean, it's over $500,000. I mean,
right. And that was the case, if you recall, in the Phase 1 bids. Our estimate was within the range low to high, and it was the same way this time also. And I wish I could tell you why that is, but I can't. I mean, our estimate is in between the low and the high bidder.
Would one explanation be that the high bidder would have to get purchase materials from locally, and maybe cost a lot more, or is that?
I think most of the materials used to build this project come from very close at hand. I mean, all the aggregates and the pipe, they're all manufactured very close to Willmar, or just outside of Willmar. I think if you look at how a bidder looks at a project like this, a lot of it depends on the work they have at hand. This is a nice project to finish up and generate some income before the winter season.
And it's good for the city. I mean,
it's good for us.
Cost. I mean, that's super. Thank you.
Other comments? Just a couple, Craig. First of all, it's good that a local contractor is getting the business, because hopefully he's hiring a lot of local people to work for him. Are we confident, are you confident that he has the right equipment, that he can do this job? You know, we had an earlier problem with a contractor who got in over his head, had to be kind of rescued. Are you confident that this this company can do the job?
I believe this company has the prerequisite experience and equipment to do it.
Okay. Has the equipment, all that stuff ready to go?
Yes.
All right. Anything else? This is a resolution, right, Mick?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Audrey, roll call.
We need a motion?
I would introduce
Oh.
the resolution.
Thanks, Audrey, for
Second.
keeping us on the straight and narrow here. Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the bid from Munson Excavating of Willmar for project number 0715 in the amount of $415,825. Any other comments? Now roll call.
Councilmember Swenson,
Aye.
Dockin,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
DeBleek,
Aye.
Christensen,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 no.
That resolution passes. Now we are on to another consideration of a bid for Willmar Avenue Extension, project number 0710.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, actually, I hope our bids keep along this trend here because we could save a lot of money on our wastewater treatment plant if things continue as they are. We'll have to wait and see what happens next year. But we also opened bids today. We opened 8 bids for the Willmar Avenue extension, and I'm talking about that area just west of 40, which will connect to the new County Road 47. This bid does not include the bituminous, but it does include all of the underground utility work, the gravel base and curb. The paving will be done next year when the county does County Road 47. We'll try to tie all that together. If you can visualize this coming from the west, this project will end just short of County Road 40. We're not going to make that connection to 40. Next year in our street improvement program, we will continue through the intersection of 40 and then reconnect over to Willmar Avenue. So that's how we're redirecting that. And as you'll recall, that kind of conforms and falls into place with the plat that was developed to accommodate some long-range growth plans out in that area, hopefully by some of our existing industry. We were quite pleased to receive 8 bids today to do this work. The bids ranged from $422,739 to $585,380, and staff is recommending that the project be awarded to the apparent low bidder, Voss Plumbing and Heating out of Paynesville.
Thank you, Mick.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to award a bid to Voss Plumbing and Heating out of Paynesville for project number 0710 in the amount of $422,739.67. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, staff is comfortable with the particular company, and
Yes,
I
we
can
are.
see we get a bid.
You'll
a couple weeks ago,
recall, we
too.
just awarded the contract to this
people.
same company to do some trail work for us. But apparently, unbeknownst to us at that time even, we didn't know that they had ventured off into some of these non-plumbing and heating kinds of construction activities. But we did check references the last time around, and there were no issues that surfaced.
These bids are typical of what's happening in the construction
Yeah.
business in general, not just here, county, state, probably across the country. And it's a good time to be doing anything, constructing anything. Is there anything else the city could do this fall? I'm serious. Is there anything else that we could be doing this fall because of this? I mean, next spring may be a whole different ball game. There may be lots of projects, there may not be, but it's just a great time to be doing something. These prices indicate that.
And this is a relatively simple project. You know, it's all surveyed, and it's just a matter of digging it out and putting the utilities in and filling it back in, put the curb and gutter, and again, the bituminous will be done next year.
But am I off base in suggesting doing more?
Well, we got a lot going on already.
I know we do. Okay.
Any other comments? No, we do have a motion, Audrey, right?
We do.
All right, okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Swenson.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 no.
That resolution passes. Number 15 on the agenda is a consideration of resolutions, Transportation Enhancements Project, Ella Avenue Connector. Mick?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have two resolutions for your consideration with regard to this project. And this is the project that the city council signed off on here not too long ago, authorizing the design center folks to submit that grant application for the Ella Avenue Trail connection. These resolutions are required as a part of the application process. One simply states that the City of Willmar agrees to act as a sponsor in committing to the fact that we know there will be some local participation. And you'll recall when the promoters of the application itself were before the council, they had indicated that there was a 20% local match on the project. So that's the first resolution, acknowledging and committing to that local participation. The second resolution is simply because of where that funding is coming from, the city needs to pass a resolution stating that it agrees to operate and maintain the facilities. I mean, that's an obvious thing that we would do, but it's required as part of the application. We're recommending approval of both resolutions so that they can be included in the application packet.
Mick, do we do this together or separately?
Two.
Twice. Two votes, two resolutions. Councilmember Anderson.
I'd move the first resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a resolution. What's the summary of it here now? Accept the responsibility of being the project sponsor
Our share of the costs.
and taking full responsibility for the operation and maintenance of the facility? Is that
No, that's the second one. It's the
the first one?
First one is here.
It's on the next page.
the bottom line of the first one is acknowledging that there's a local share and that
Okay.
we are committing to that, to make sure that if the funding is made available to the city, those local dollars will be there.
All right. Is that understood by everybody? Any questions about that? Is this a roll call then, Mick? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
DeBleek.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Swenson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 no.
That resolution passes.
Mr. Mayor, I'll introduce a resolution that we adopt where a project sponsor agrees to the full responsibility for operating and maintenance of the property and facilities related to the aforementioned transportation enhancement project.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the council to consider a resolution to accept full responsibility for the operation and maintenance of property and facilities related to the transportation enhancement project. Comment. Roll call.
Councilmember DeBleek.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Swenson.
Aye.
Dockin.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 no.
That resolution passes. We're now down to the announcements part of the agenda. And, well, let's take the council committee meetings first. Finance?
Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee will meet Monday, the 24th at 4:45.
September 24th, City Finance Committee, 4:45. Public Works, Public Safety.
Doug never did tell me, but I'm assuming we'll be meeting.
Yeah,
Yes,
the 25th.
Tuesday, 4:45, City Hall.
September 25th, Public Works, Public Safety, 4:45 at City Hall. Community Development.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Community Development be, now it's a meeting for October 4th. That's
Okay.
a Thursday, 4:45.
Community Development, October 4th, Thursday, 4:45 at City Hall. Labor.
I don't believe Labor is meeting, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Then we have a couple of announcements here. One, this is for the community. This coming Sunday, September 23rd, at 3 o'clock is our downtown military parade for the returning veterans from Iraq and from Afghanistan. This is a short parade. It involves the color guard, the Willmar Senior High School band, and as many soldiers who have recently returned from Iraq and Afghanistan who wish to participate. And the soldiers and their families will be in individual cars. And then after the parade, there will be a picnic for the soldiers and their families at Rice Park over just east of the Willmar Education and Arts Center. And we're asking that the public really comes out and support this parade and these soldiers. I think the parade will be less than a half hour. It starts at the WEAC Center. It'll go north through the downtown section and return back to the WEAC Center. And it's meant to be small and respectful. It's not there's no advertising in the parade. It's just our soldiers coming home. And we've learned that there's somewhere in the range of about 50 soldiers from Candiotah County that have served in either Iraq or Afghanistan or perhaps both places. So it's our community and our county and all the cities and towns in Candiotah County that are welcoming these soldiers back, and we're asking the public to please come out and be supportive of our soldiers. Again, it's Sunday, September 23rd at 3 o'clock in downtown Willmar. Next, a couple of other announcements. The new Walmart store, the Super Walmart store, is having their ribbon cutting at 8 o'clock on October 5th. That's a Wednesday. And then the store will be open at 9 o'clock. And I announce that just because it involves that whole southeast section of Willmar, and a lot of people are asking. The old Walmart store will be open until 6 o'clock Tuesday night. Then their doors are closed, and the new Walmart will open up at 9 o'clock the next morning. There'll be a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Doug Reese, will be present to say a few words and to help with some of the ceremonial responsibilities. I know that Super Walmart will be donating a variety of checks to local organizations in support of the work of being a community sponsor and a community partner, and to support the work of many worthwhile organizations. The next announcement I want to make to the council is that I will not be here for the council meeting on October 3rd. I have been invited by the National League of Cities to make a presentation in San Antonio on building inclusive communities. This is a discussion that is a follow-up to the work that was highlighted by the NBC Nightly News, and in follow-up conversations I was invited to attend a national conference called the Institute for Families and Education in San Antonio, and I will be going to that. The National League of Cities is covering the cost for that. So that'll be on that Monday. So any other comments or statements that the council wishes to make at this time? Mick.
Mr. Mayor, you're going to have to do me a favor after the meeting and maybe ask Megan some technical questions.
About?
Well, anything, because Bruce asked to be excused again tonight. You remember what happened at the last council
Yes,
meeting?
yes.
So I said, Megan, you have to come to the council meeting tonight Somebody always pulls the planning commission minutes from the consent agenda.
Nobody
Brought
does.
her half her office with, in case that there was something, so you'll have to at least acknowledge that at the after.
Megan, thank you for spending the evening with the city council, and I'm sure this was your first choice for tonight, so. And I know the other staff are just always eager to be here, so you're in good company. So. Anything else from the council members? Councilmember DeBleek.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think the parade you're talking about is great for the returning veterans, but I think you also need to be considerate and aware that there still are soldiers from this town and this community in this area that are still serving in Iraq and still over there.
Sure.
So, and another thing, I believe we have a COP Ward 1 committee meeting.
Thank you. One other announcement. Ward 1 will be meeting for their community-oriented policing meeting on Tuesday, September 18th. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Willmar Senior Citizens Center. Also, Ward 4 will have a COPP meeting on Monday, September 24th at 7 p.m. at Calvary Lutheran Church in the Friendship Room. A representative from the Candioi County Rescue Squad will give a presentation on their operations at both meetings, I'm assuming? Okay. Oh, at the Ward 4 meeting. Ward 1 is a general meeting tomorrow night. Any other announcements? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And it's been seconded. We are adjourned.